a bike tumbling down the side of a mountain at over 160 miles an hour, another bursting into a fireball right in front of thousands of fans, and a legend, a man who won race after race, year after year, who finally lost his life in the one crash he couldn't walk away from. Today we're talking about the crashes that shocked the world, the riders who lived through the unthinkable, and the ones who didn't. This is the Isle of Man TT. Every year, the Isle of Man TT celebrates speed, courage, and history. But behind every trophy lies a quieter story, one written in sacrifice, not silverware. For more than a century, the mountain course has turned ordinary men into legends. Yet not all of them lived to watch that legacy grow. Some fell at the TT itself. Others were lost on circuits far from the island. But no matter where it happened, the TT family felt every single loss like it was their own. And no name carries that weight more than Joey Dunlop. Joey wasn't just a champion, he was the soul of the event. 26 TT victories, a record that stood for decades, built not on flash, but on quiet, relentless mastery. Fans loved him as much for his humility as his speed. Then, in July 2000, racing in Estonia, that story ended. Joey was killed in a crash at 48 years old. He never fell on the mountain course he ruled, yet the island grieved as if he had. Thousands gathered to say goodbye to the man many still call the greatest road racer who ever lived. But the Dunlop family's pain was far from over. Joey's younger brother Robert carried the same fire. He raced through injury after injury, refusing to let his body slow him down. In May 2008, during practice for the Northwest 200, that courage cost him his life. The road racing world lost another Dunlop, and another piece of itself. A decade later, history repeated its cruelty. William, Robert's eldest son, was rewriting the family name with victories across Ireland's biggest races. Many believed he'd carry the Dunlop legend for years to come. In July 2018, during practice for the Skerries 100, that future was taken from him too. Tributes flooded in from every paddock, proof that the TT isn't just a race, it's a family that grieves together. The mountain course has claimed others just as talented. In 2019, Daley Matheson was chasing his own piece of history on the opening lap of the Superbike TT when it was cut short. A stark reminder that at the TT, even a fraction of a second can change everything. Then came 2022, a week the island won't forget. Welsh rider Mark Purslow lost his life during qualifying. Days later, Davy Morgan from Northern Ireland was killed racing the Supersport TT. 2 losses, 1 devastating week, and a paddock left searching for answers that never really come. Each of these riders chased the same dream, to master the mountain course and earn a place among its legends. Some got there, others never finished the story they set out to write. But loss was never the only story the mountain course had to tell. For every rider it took, there were others who stared death in the face and somehow lived to race again. Death has always been part of the Isle of Man TT's story, but sometimes, fate offers a second chance. Over the years, some of the sport's greatest riders have walked away from crashes that should have ended everything. Through grit, months of rehab, and an unshakable love for the TT, they found their way back to the very course that nearly took them. 2010 gave us one of those moments. Conor Cummins was already a home favourite, one of the fastest men on the mountain course. Then, during the senior TT, disaster struck at the veranda, over 160 miles per hour, a bump, and a violent series of flips that sent him and his bike tumbling down the mountainside. The world watched in shock as one of the sport's darkest crashes unfolded live. He survived with fractures, a collapsed lung, and a shattered pelvis, injuries that should have ended his career. Instead, after months of surgery and rehab, Conor returned to the TT. His comeback remains one of road racing's greatest stories of sheer will. He wasn't alone in defying the odds. Guy Martin built his legend on fearlessness and paid for it with a string of brutal crashes over the years. Broken bones never broke his spirit. Every time, he came back exactly as fearless as before, embodying everything the TT stands for. Then there's Ian Hutchinson, a man who went from 5 TT wins in a single week to fighting just to save his leg. Years of surgeries and setbacks followed, Yet he returned to the mountain course and kept winning, proving champions are forged as much through recovery as through victory. Peter Hickman's turning point came in 2014, when a heavy qualifying crash could have ended his career early. He recovered, came back stronger, and went on to set the fastest lap in TT history, a true measure of resilience. And then there's Steve Mercer, perhaps the most remarkable survival of all. In 2018, at full racing speed, he collided head-on with a course vehicle that had mistakenly entered the circuit. The crash left him with life-threatening injuries, and simply surviving was considered a miracle. Yet after months of rehabilitation, Mercer returned to racing, becoming a symbol of pure resilience. These stories all echo the same truth. Surviving the crash is only the beginning. The real battle happens after the ambulance leaves, in hospital rooms, in rehab sessions, in the silent hours of doubt. It's a fight against pain, fear, and uncertainty. And for every rider who returns, each lap around the mountain course becomes living proof. Courage was never about the absence of fear, it's the choice to face it again. But survival was never just the rider's battle. Every crash, every comeback, was felt just as deeply by the people waiting at home. Every rider who lines up at the TT accepts the risk, but behind every helmet stands a family carrying that same risk silently, through every practice lap, every race, every ring of the phone that could change their lives forever. No family understands that weight more than the Dunlops. We've already seen what this family paid. Joey, then Robert, then William. 3 generations, 3 losses, and a name that somehow never left the paddock. Michael Dunlop kept racing through all of it, carrying not just the pressure of expectation, but the memory of everyone who came before him. Every win became something bigger than personal glory. It became a tribute to a family that refused to let go of the sport, even after the sport had taken so much from them. This weight isn't reserved for famous names either. When Conor Cummins crashed in 2010, it wasn't only the crowd holding its breath. His family spent days not knowing if he'd survive, let alone walk again. For every rider on the grid, someone back home is living the race differently. A parent, a partner, a sibling, a child. They celebrate every finish. They dread every delay on the timing screen. And they know, better than anyone, that a single lap can change everything. What holds this community together is unity in the face of loss. When tragedy strikes, rivals set competition aside. Fans from every corner of the world come together to honor those who gave everything for a sport they couldn't live without. And it's that bond, quiet, unshakable, that keeps the spirit of the TT alive, even in its darkest weeks. Yet no matter how strong that bond, some years tested it more than others, years when the mountain course seemed to take everything at once. Throughout its history, the Isle of Man TT has forced the sport to confront hard questions about safety and the true cost of competition. 1970 remains its darkest year. 6 competitors lost in a single event, the deadliest edition the race had ever seen. 2 years later, another loss changed the sport's direction. In 1972, Italian contender Gilberto Parlotti crashed fatally at the veranda, 29 miles into his second lap, at just 31 years old. His death hit riders hard, especially his close friend Giacomo Agostini, who vowed never to race the Isle of Man again, calling the course too dangerous. More riders joined his boycott, and by 1976 the TT was dropped from the World Championship calendar. Even outside that era, the danger never faded. 2022 brought another painful chapter. 5 competitors were killed, the worst toll since 1989. Welsh rider Mark Purslow died in practice at Ballaghaderreen. Davy Morgan suffered fatal injuries in the opening Supersport race. Sidecar driver Cesar Chanal was killed at Aggo's Leap, and father-son duo Roger and Bradley Stockton lost their lives at the same corner. Chanal's passenger, Olivier Lavarelle, later died of his injuries too, taking that year's toll to 6. Each tragedy has pushed the sport forward. Better medical response, smarter course management, tighter safety procedures. But one truth remains unchanged. No technology can fully erase the danger of racing at 200 miles per hour on public roads lined with stone walls and buildings. The mountain course still demands nothing less than perfection. And yet, despite every statistic, every warning, every year that pushed the sport to its limits, the riders kept coming back, which raises the one question that ties this entire story together. After everything, one question remains: why do they keep coming back? Why would anyone willingly race a course that has claimed so many lives? The answer isn't in the statistics, it isn't in the trophies, and it certainly isn't in the money. For those who race the Isle of Man TT, this was never just a job, it's a lifelong obsession. The mountain course is the ultimate test, a place where skill, courage, and precision are pushed further than almost anywhere else in sport. Every corner carries history. Every village remembers the legends who once flew through it. Every lap links today's riders to more than a century of tradition. For many, simply crossing the finish line is an achievement most people will never understand. Winning is unforgettable, but earning the mountain course's respect is something even bigger. The risks are real, the sacrifices are enormous, and every rider knows exactly what's at stake before the visor comes down. Yet, year after year they return, not because they ignore the danger, but because some dreams are worth risking everything for. That's the paradox of the Isle of Man TT, a place of triumph and heartbreak in equal measure, a race that has built legends, broken hearts, and inspired generations. And maybe that's exactly why, more than 100 years on, the world's most dangerous motorcycle race still captivates millions. Every crash, every loss, every comeback we've talked about today, they're all part of the same story. A story about a race that has taken everything from some and given everything to others. The Isle of Man TT isn't just a competition, it's 100 years of courage, heartbreak, and riders who refuse to let fear win. If this story moved you the way it moved us to make it, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this one, because the mountain course has a lot more history left to tell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.